It took me going to college to realize I wasn't the best dancer in the world, but I was still, by far, better than anyone I went to high school with. I did have a sort of natural ability when it came to dancing, in a sense that I could kick my leg way up high over my head and I could do the splits, and because of my ice skating experience, I could jump high and do some pretty cool tricks. My drama teacher turned dance teacher and choreographer wasn't actually a dancer, so there wasn't a lot of technical training coming from her. The way that she explained alignment went like this. So, here's your body. This is the top half. This is the bottom half. Now, if you were to cut yourself in half at the waistline, you don't want your top half to fall in any direction. But boy, did she know how to choreograph dances that got people excited and on their feet. Not to mention, she was a brilliant grant writer and got the school a lot of money. One time we did a concert at school. The first dance that started off the concert was to Sister Sledge's I'm So Excited. It started with 4 of the lead dancers planted in the audience before the concert started. My crush actually came to the concert, and I got to sit with him before it started. When it started, each of the 4 dancers planted in the different parts of the audience got up quickly as the spotlight went to them and did a very exciting 8 counts. I was the first one. I got up, I did a really high kick, pas de bourrée, turn, then the spotlight went to the next dancer. My crush looked at me with these big eyes and smiled and said, "That gave me the chills." I never will forget that. I had impressed him and made him smile. I think this was the first time I knew that I had impressed someone. I was so excited. I did have a best friend. Her name was Jody. We went to school together from the 3rd grade all the way through community college. In grade school, she and our other friend Dianetta and I would play Charlie's Angels. I was nominated to watch the episode every Wednesday night because I was the only one that was allowed to stay up that late. Then the next day, I would come to school and tell them how the show went, and we would reenact it. Dianetta was the blonde, so she was always Farrah. Jody was always Jacqueline Smith, and I guess because I wasn't as pretty as Jody, or because I had shorter hair, I had to be Kate Jackson, which I didn't mind really, other than it was always seemed to mean I wasn't as pretty as Jody. Kate Jackson's character was by far the smartest and most badass. In high school, we sort of went our separate ways for a bit. It seemed like everyone separated themselves from me after I lived with my dad the first semester of my freshman year. I must admit, the semester with my dad did change me a little. LA is definitely more fashionable than Prunedale is. I got to get a sense of what kind of person I was. I got to see people dressing more creatively and listening to different types of music. I came back to Prunedale wearing things that made me look like Boy George and Madonna. I listened to Sparks and Echo and the Bunnymen and Tears for Fears and Duran Duran and Susie and the Banshees and Oingo Boingo. I did that until my junior year, and one day I decided to wear normal jeans and a t-shirt in an attempt to fit in and gain some friends. See? When I make decisions, I do it for a reason. I think it had to do with this one time my mom and my stepdad took my little sister and me to Oingo Boingo and Wang Chung concert. I was dressed weird as usual. I had this lime green fabric trench coat that I thought was the coolest thing, but I overheard my stepdad tell my mom, "Just let her keep dressing like that and no guy will ever be interested in her." First of all, I thought, well, that's not good. I want guys to be interested in dating me. But second, I was like, is that a problem? I mean, guys want to date me and I don't know about it? And they were trying to keep me away from them? But I just let it go because I didn't really care what my parents thought. I was having fun, but it was enough to make me second guess my fashion choices. My stepdad was a cool greaser, meaning he worked on cars. But more than that, he was in the drag racing industry. He built and drove top-fuel, front-engine dragsters down the quarter miles starting in the 1960s. I don't remember my mom and him getting married, but I have seen pictures. I was 3 years old. Looking at the pictures, it seemed as if I liked him a lot. I was always hanging on him in one way or another. I don't remember when my mom told me to start calling him Dad. I just remember calling him Dad, not even stepdad, just Dad. I knew my mom and real dad weren't married anymore, and from the sounds of it, My mom had an affair, and that pissed off my dad, even though my dad had cheated on my mom apparently 11 times. One time was with my mom's cousin in their kitchen when she was 8 months pregnant with me. I didn't learn this information, I just grew up knowing it. I never questioned it, because why? It was their business, and I didn't really care as long as everyone was happy. It all seemed normal to me, just like how Tarzan being raised by apes was normal to Tarzan. I loved having a mom and a dad, and I loved having a stepdad and a stepmom. All the more people I get to love. I respected them too. I did everything they told me to do. I think when I was around 7 or 8, my stepdad seemed to feel the need to tell me that if any boy ever did something that hurt me, that I should simply make his fist and punch him right in the face. And he made a fist and did a gentle swing in the air. So I did. In the 6th grade, there was this boy that kept coming up behind me, and using his forefinger and middle finger, he would poke me in the sides and make me jump. He did it all through the 6th grade until the last day. We were standing in line at the door waiting for the bell to ring on the last day of school, and he did it again after telling him to stop the entire year I had had it. I had a brown paper bag that had my new shoes in it. They were those kinds with the wooden platform heels that had a hole in the heel. I turned around, forgetting what I had had in the paper bag. I swung that bag so hard across his face, he was stunned. He looked like he was going to cry, and he walked away and never talked to me again. Ever. I was a little sad that he had never talked to me again. I thought he was a nice person. I was only doing what my stepdad told me to do when a guy did something that I didn't like. I was only in the 6th grade, so it wasn't like I was losing a boyfriend or something like that. I wasn't even thinking about those kinds of things. I just didn't want him to poke me in the sides anymore. It was irritating. When I was 14, my stepdad sat me down and gave me a written list of things I had to abide by as I was embarking on my teenage years. Number 1. When I turned 14, I could go to co-ed functions that were accompanied by an adult. My curfew was 9 p.m. Number 2. When I was 15, I was allowed to go on double dates only with my cousins as the other date, and my curfew was 10 p.m. Number 3. At 16, I was allowed to go on solo dates, and curfew was 11 p.m. Number 4. At 17, my curfew was midnight. And number 5, at 18, I could stay out until 2 a.m., but I had to call at midnight to let them know where I was. I was very impressed by my stepdad with this one. I appreciated him writing it down and having a little meeting with me about it. I knew he had written it because I recognized his handwriting. It was a small block-like letters, very neat and very legible. I folded up the piece of paper it was written on, and I put it in the top drawer of my jewelry box, and I kept it for many years. I felt the rules were simple and easy to follow, and I followed every rule to the T until I was 18. I never questioned it. I was totally satisfied with the rules. I never gave my parents any problems whatsoever. There was one exception. When I was 15, there was this guy that came out of nowhere. I never knew him. I never went to school with him. But for some reason, he was at my house asking my mom and stepdad if he could take me out on a date. I was shocked. I was only 15, and the rules were that I wasn't supposed to be able to go on a solo date alone yet. Not until I was 16. Much to my surprise, when he asked to take me out to dinner promising that he would have me back home at 9 p.m., my stepdad agreed to let me go. I was super excited because, oh my God, I was going to be able to dress up and be driven to a restaurant and go on a date with a guy. But it was also kind of disappointing that my stepdad had broke the rules that he had given me to follow. Why? And why for this guy? I didn't know him at all. I didn't like him. I didn't want to date him. But I wanted to go on a date. What young girl doesn't? So I went. He took me to a nice restaurant in Salinas. I think it was an okay time, but I was glad he was taking me home. And then as we were driving up the last hill before our driveway, he slipped his hand behind my neck and asked if I wanted to make out. I didn't want to make out, but I kissed him anyway for a few minutes until I felt completely uncomfortable and suggested he drive me up my driveway. I wasn't sure what his problem was and why he thought I wanted to do those things with him, but I was not interested. I think I mentioned to my stepdad that I would rather just follow the rules than to be out on another date with someone I didn't know. In my mind, I was kind of disappointed that he let the rules be broken. I thought, well, what's the point of making rules for me to follow if you're going to be the one that breaks them? He said sorry and that he felt pressure to say it was okay because the guy asked in front of everyone. After my crush broke up with me, I was sad. I didn't really talk about it to anyone because the shame for having sex with him was already kicking in with a vengeance, even though I never told anybody about it, because I grew up in a religion that frowned upon premarital sex. But not only that, something I didn't quite know about the church yet was that not only were you not supposed to have premarital sex, but if you did, you were forced to marry the guy, just for having sex, if anyone found out about it. Not even because you got pregnant, but just because you had sex with him, that meant you were now his and you had to marry him. Somehow I realized at a young age that that was preposterous, that I technically and morally could have sex with anyone I wanted to, and that I did not have to marry him because of it. But that didn't mean that I went out and had sex with just anyone. I was still rather picky. So after my crush rejected me, there was a guy that I dated for a little while, if you can call it that. He basically would take me to the beach and try and rape me all the time. I think we did it once, maybe twice, but what I remember the most was the times I actually gathered the strength and courage to push him off of me and say no, and then get up and run to his car and demand that he take me home. He was also my first pregnancy scare. Oh, how I prayed to start my period. Thank God I did. I stopped seeing him, and then my senior year, I finally got a boyfriend. His name was Jim, and we ended up in an on-again, off-again relationship for 9 years. I called him the guy I married, but I also called him my rapist, because it turns out he raped me twice. One time in the front of my parents' house, and another time when he took me into the darkness of the artichoke fields in Castroville and jumped on me until he got what he wanted. At the time, I was already brainwashed to believe that because I was in a relationship with him, that I was supposed to let him have sex with me whenever he wanted. I basically would say, no, 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 no. Okay, fine, hurry up and get it over with. I'm sure there was a couple more no's in there, but you get the idea. What's going through my mind is, isn't it my right as a human, regardless of whether I'm male or female, that if I don't want to have sex, I really don't have to? I mean, really, 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 I don't. So in order to get him to stop trying to force me, I just needed to give in and let him do it. So I did. So was it really rape? It took me a long-ass time to truly understand the correct answer to that question. I broke up with him when I was 19 after a brief engagement to him where we were planning our wedding and our life together. I didn't really know he had raped me yet, but I knew I didn't want to marry him. It took me 3 attempts, but I was finally able to break it up. We had done so much already. We had put our engagement photo in the paper, I had gone to manicuring school and ROP, and when I graduated, I took my test and I became a state-licensed manicurist. And we were getting furniture to furnish our house once we were married. I was selling Tupperware to collect as much free time that I could. I mean, how cool is Tupperware for a wife, huh? But as a manicurist, I would hear some of my friends from high school dance company had gone to college and started majoring in dance. I was like, what? You can do that? I wanted to do that. So you know what I did? I did that. I broke up with Jim, found out what I needed to do to go to college as a dance major. What I found out was that the easiest way and the least expensive way was to go to a community college and take 56 transferable units and then transfer to a four-year college. So I took the entrance exam to Hartnell Community College, and working as a manicurist at JCPenney Styling Salon, I completed 56 transferable units with only one goal in mind: to go to California State University, Long Beach, and major in dance.